splintered communities must now reunite to face a brutal enemy who walk with the dead and whisper.
Hey Walking Dead fans, this is going to be my review, let's go over the Season 9, Episode 9. And I did see it early, didn't want to give any spoilers on the channel, so just releasing this video right now. And I did this review before The Talking Dead aired, and so they may say some stuff that reveals some more information, and I'll bring that to you in a news video, probably first of the week. Spoiler alert, of course, if you haven't caught up to Season 9 or saw Episode 9. And jumping right in, it opens up with a dialogue from Michonne. You know, like some of the episodes prior, of course, they'll do a recap of last time on The Walking Dead. But in this episode, it rarely happens. It's actual dialogue, and it's Michonne doing a dialogue over some scenes. I can't play the piece in its entirety. I will have a few snippets here. But what she does say in the entirety is, it was a new beginning, a chance to build a better future.
After the war, I wasn't sure we could learn to trust. Some wanted revenge.
But we kept Negan alive. Somehow he escaped. We lost friends we loved, my true love. But even now, 6 years later, his hopes for the future live on. Our splintered communities must now reunite to face a brutal enemy who walk with the dead and whisper. So what this does to me, it sets up the episode that sets up the Whisperers, kind of introduces them for real. We see the Lydia capture. We see more unmasking a live person. Daryl interrogates her. We learn a little bit more about them. We see Alpha at the end of this episode. So this is really the probably actual introduction to the Whisperers and to the show. And Michonne did this little dialogue that recapped pretty much all of Season 9 up to this point. And she's introducing the Whisperers. I would say there's ups and downs in the episode. Overall, I think it was a really good episode. I think Season 9's been really good so far, and I think it's only going to get better through the end of Season 9. All the things that should happen within the Whisperers, and we haven't even got to the Whisper War yet. I think a lot of the drama and the cool shit is about to happen in the end of Season 9B. And I like this episode. I do think there's some, you know, iffy writing here and there, and I might point that out. But overall, I think it's a really good episode. I think the story's going really well, and I think they did the burial of Jesus, the music, and in the review I'll show you that. But I think it was really sad, and through the Lydia capture and things going on, we definitely got a setup of the back half of kind of how things are going to start playing out. But you know, it pretty much opens in a split second after Episode 8. We're pretty much directly right back into it. They're at the cemetery. They get attacked by the Whisperers. They kill them, get away, but here comes some more. They go through the gate, and the group gets away. And before they come across the bridge and some more walkers and Whisperers, they're walking along the road, and Michonne tells Daryl that she's okay with the group, Magna and her group. Judith okayed them, and she okays them, and Daryl's like, all right. So that pretty much settles everybody's okay with the new people. But as Michonne and Daryl's walking along, they kind of talk, you know, Michonne says, I'm glad we're able to bring Jesus's body back. And Daryl's like, you know, I'm sorry I couldn't do that for you, because he went out and looked for Rick's body. They really wanted to have a burial. And, you know, even in the real world, when someone's missing and they pretty much know they're probably dead, it's just like without a body, it's just so, you know, it leaves it open-ended kind of, and there's no definite ending. So they're discussing that. And Michonne says, I'm sorry too, for both of us. And then she says, thank you so much for, you know, and pretty much meaning going out and looking for him and stuff. And she says, and thanks for after that. So this is something we were kind of promised by Angela Kang, some flashbacks, and it should tell the story of whatever it was after. And I think that might have a tie-in to the scars on Michonne and Daryl, the exes. A lot of people think it's tied into the other communities or Oceanside or something, and I think it's some external something going on there, or something between just Michonne and Daryl, and not necessarily tied into the other communities. So that pretty much leads up to the bridge scene, and right before that, they see the walkers and Whisperers out in the woods, and Eugene asks, are they the living kind or original recipe? And that's kind of funny calling them that, something that someone like Judith probably wouldn't get, never having original recipe. But this leads up to the bridge scene, and you know they pretty much revealed the bridge scene in promos prior, and we've already done videos on that and talked about that, so I'm not going to go all through that again. It was about the capture of Lydia, but this is pretty much one of the walkers survives them killing them all right there on the bridge, and it ends up being a young girl named Lydia. Daryl captures her. Michonne wants to kill her, but Daryl says, no, let's take her. So they capture her and take her back along with Jesus's body. One thing to take note on the bridge scene that we didn't see in the promos is that Lydia drops her knife, and Michonne ends up throwing the mask down as well. So as we can see in this shot, the knife, Lydia's knife and mask were left on the bridge. So before I keep going with that story, because it jumped back and forth, you know, Negan escaped. So it shows his story, kind of a complete little story through the episode. He escapes. Of course, he goes into Judith's room and takes her compass and some of what looks like Rick's clothes, and he has that shovel, and he goes off on an adventure. But on his way out of Alexandria, and this starts some of the writing kind of funnies or something you can notice, that Judith finds him climbing up the wall, has a gun pointed at him, and they have their little bonding session conversation, and of course she lets him go. But pretty much the gist here is there's this bonding situation going on between Judith and Negan, so that takes the place of Carl and Rick. But as we'll see, Negan does find one thing. She lets him go, and as he's traveling to what will be, we'll see he's going to the sanctuary. Somewhere along the way, there's nothing out there. Everything's been pillaged, and you know, everything. It's been 9 years plus overall in the timeline, but he finds a leather jacket, actually a whole rack of them. What are the odds? What are the odds? So now we'll bounce over to Hilltop, where Tara and some of the others, Alden, they're planning hey, we need to go look for the group. They've been gone for a while, and we need to send somebody out to check on them. So it ends up being Alden and Luke volunteers, and here they go out on horseback to kind of see what happened to the group. So now we'll go into them returning Jesus' body, and they have Lydia, Michonne, and Aaron. Those guys, Eugene, Magnus group, they arrived back at Hilltop. And it's a sad thing. The music they play, the violins going, and the slow motion effect when it shows Michonne leading Lydia on the horse, when it shows the shot of Aaron leading Jesus' body on the horse, Tara touching Jesus' body, everybody's facial reactions, and Rosita getting the look on her face, kind of like, I told you guys that was some bad shit out there. So they end up taking Lydia downstairs into the little cellar where they have the jail cells set up, put her in a cell. Henry's still down there. He's still got like another day of service. So Michonne decides she's going to go take her people and go back to Alexandria after Jesus' funeral, which was sad as well. They put nails in the coffin, and everybody was driving a nail into Jesus' coffin, and it was real sad, and the music they were playing. But before Michonne leaves, she tells Daryl, look, it's dangerous having her here. You know, if she don't talk or whatever information you get out of her or whatever, you know what to do. And of course, before they leave, Eugene gets his leg reset by Sadiq. Rosita's there, and Eugene ends up saying, look, I almost died, and you shouldn't like hold your feelings in, so I just want to tell you, you know, I'm in love with you kind of thing. And Rosita runs out. It ends up she was getting sick because she is pregnant, and Sadiq comes out to check on her. You know, when me and you were fooling around before I got with Gabriel, that's when it happened. You're the father, I'm pregnant. So that was revealed. A lot of people already knew that was coming or knew that was up. But the kicker here is they were right outside the window, and Eugene overhears them. So then we bounce over to Negan. He's made it to the sanctuary, and he sees some of his old lieutenants that have turned into walkers, and he ends up killing all of them, and he tries to stay there. I don't know if it's a day or two or just over a day, but he realizes that it's pretty much a hopeless effort. So another one of the things in the writing, you know, it's in the comics a certain way, the way they played it out in the show, but if I was Negan, I don't know if I would go back to Alexandria. I would maybe try to go forge my own again. But he pretty much gives up on the sanctuary, and he's heading back to Alexandria. And that brings probably the biggest WTF in the show. He busts through a wall and finds, you know, you can see a lot of old canned food and different things that I think he was maybe storing up for a bad day. And there's a motorcycle, like a getaway. you know, it's behind a closed wall. It's not one that they converted over to ethanol. It's pretty much the old gasoline, and he's riding down the road on it. So how the hell did that motorbike run? So we bounce to after Jesus' funeral. Daryl goes back down to interrogate Lydia more. So Lydia says something, and right now I didn't research it real quick. I can't remember if it was in the comic that way, but she pretty much tells Daryl, my people were going to kill you anyway. That's just what we do now. It's us against people. It's us or them. But a lot of the things she says anyway are lies, and she says that in the end, Daryl asks, how many of you are there? And she says, now it's just my mom. It's just my mom out there. She's a good person. But Daryl threatens to drag her out of the cage, and she's like, please don't kill me, Daryl, please. And Henry, of course, is doing the same thing, and that's creating a bonding moment for the two. And we'll see later that Daryl, he's a smart dude. He kind of set it all up. He goes up and sits outside the window and plays a Eugene and listens in on the conversation that Henry and Lydia are having. And Daryl learns a whole lot more than he learned from talking to her directly. So now we're going to go to the second big WTF of the show, which, again, it's a zombie show. You have to suspend your belief. It's zombies. It's a TV production. They're limited sometimes on budget. You just got to go with it. Here's Negan on the motorbike with gas that shouldn't exist. And there's Judith again out in the middle of the road pointing a gun at him. And albeit there's some cool shots. That shot coming up to Judith where she pulls the trigger, that's pretty cool. I like that. It's that Judith is out in the middle of the road and she shoots Negan's tire out as he's coming down through there. So he wrecks and they have a conversation. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I was just heading back to Alexandria to get back in my cell. Oh, I told you there was nothing out there for you. Yep, you were right. Okay, let's go back to Alexandria. Everything's cool. And really the WTF of it all is that Judith is standing in the middle of the road. She was standing out at Alexandria pretty much in her pajamas and caught Negan. And it shows several clips of him running all through Alexandria. Nobody sees Negan, but Judith does. And she lets him go. And then she's out in the middle of the road. I know Michonne is gone, but she doesn't have any supervision whatsoever. Anyway, I just think they're taking a whole lot of liberty with this bonding thing between Judith and Negan in these few scenes. But I'm cool with it. Just wanted to point it out. But then we do get this cool shot of Hilltop. It shows the kind of the farm layout, the gardens out in front of Hilltop, and that's where we'll see, you see the gate there in the middle, that's where we'll see Alpha and those Whispers come up to Hilltop trying to negotiate to get Lydia in the next few episodes. And that's just stuff we've seen in the promos and promo photos. So Luke ends up seeing an arrow in a tree, and he goes retrieves it. He tells Alden that, hey, it's a trail that Yumiko has set for us with arrows. Let's just go looking for it. And sure enough, they find arrow after arrow. And the very last scene here that we see is Alden and Luke following the arrow trail. But who do they run upon? Alpha and other Whisperers standing all around. It's real creepy. And Alpha walks up. She has one of the arrows in her hand, tosses it at Alden and Luke's feet, takes her shotgun out, points it at them, and says, the trail ends here, meaning the trail of arrows that they've been following. Boys, the trail ends here. So I think that was pretty cool. They set that up. In the comic, there's an iconic frame and moment when that happens. Alpha says, don't move. So overall, like I say, I think it was a good episode. We learned a few things. It bounced around a lot. I like that part. It did have some little bit unbelievable moments, but we'll overlook that and keep going with the story. I think it's going strong. There's been a lot of news with some of the characters leaving the show again and things, and a lot of the characters already, several big characters. But we'll go over that in other videos and talk about that more and flesh it out more through this week. Let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments below. We can discuss the episode, the return of Season 9B, the things that are going on and happening and what may happen. Appreciate all the comments. We love reading them and going through them and discussing and replying to them, so keep them coming. Definitely check out the other videos on the channel and the ones coming up this week. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more dead stuff.